Lake Lanier is rumored to be one of the most haunted lakes in the United States. Underneath the water resides multiple sunken communities and cemeteries with much tragedy. Since the creation of it in the mid 1950s, there have been almost 700 deaths, many of which are strange, unexplained, and unsolved. From 1994 alone, there have been 200 deaths, with at least 27 people never being found. In today's episode, we will examine Lake Lanier and its eerie story. Without question, the most famous spirit said to roam this lake is named the Lady of the Lake. In 1958, Delia Mae Parker Young and Susie Roberts were driving to Dawsonville after speeding out of a gas station without paying. As they were crossing the Lake Lanier Bridge, Susie lost control of the car, and the car flew over the bridge. The next year, one day, a fisherman found the remains of a body floating near the bridge. Both hands were missing, as well as 2 toes. Authorities weren't able to identify her. Still, though, locals knew who it was. It was Delia. This is because dozens of people driving on State Route 53 have seen her appearing as a ghostly, handless apparition roaming down the highway in a blue dress. The spirit appears to be lost, almost as if she was searching for something. Many have reported the spirit appears like a recording. It is said that this ghost is most likely a residual haunting. Residual hauntings are most often found at the location of a traumatic event where the energy of heightened emotions are fused to the fabric of a place. In 1990, officials discovered a 1950s Ford sedan with a corpse belonging to Susie Roberts, according to dental records. While the Lady of the Lake is the most famous of the paranormal activity on the lake, it is by no means the only one. In 2017, longtime diver Buck Buchanan told local media that he sometimes felt body parts in the lake. He said, "You reach out into the dark and you feel an arm or a leg and it doesn't move." Another of the numerous paranormal stories to allegedly haunt Lake Lanier is that of a mysterious raft seen floating on the lake late at night. In it is a shadowy figure pushing along with a pole, a lantern lighting his way. Those who have seen this apparition say it seemingly appears and vanishes from out of nowhere. One story is a sighting reported by 2 fishermen who claim to have seen the shadowy figure around 1 a.m. on a cold fall night. The 2 fishermen watched as the figure moves along before suddenly shouting and jumping into the freezing water. Afraid the entity was coming for them, the fishermen quickly pulled up their lines and prepared to leave. However, when they shined their lights on the water, there was no sign of the raft or the figure. The surface of the lake was calm and undisturbed, as if nothing had ever been there. Lake Lanier sits 40 miles northeast of Georgia, and is named after Sidney Lanier, a writer, poet, and musician. The purpose of creating the lake was to provide electricity for growing Atlanta and the surrounding area. Also, the lake would provide protection from flooding. However, right from the get-go, Lake Lanier, which was created by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, had issues. There were concerns early on in the budget as far as how much of the money should go toward relocation and what and should be moved. During the 5 years it took to fill the lake, the U.S. government accumulated 50,000 acres of farmland, displaced 250 families. It is said roads, churches, buildings, homes, and of course graves are all under the water. Divers find these objects intact, like in an abandoned ghost town on the lake's bottom. Lake Lanier is said to be the most dangerous underwater surface in the United States. When water levels drop, the lake floor becomes exposed, and debris of all kinds gets closer to the boats and swimmers at the surface. The water depths are also unpredictable. It's said to have 30 to 40-foot drops in waist high water. There's also many who point to the checkered past of the land as to why this lake might be cursed. In the 1830s, Native Americans were rounded up and forced on the Trail of Tears. Many died on this trip due to disease and hunger. Years later, farming families were forced to give up their most precious asset, their land, by the government. It should be noted this land was extremely fertile, and most were paid well under market price for their property. While the lake has had a disproportionately high share of deaths over the decades, many believe that this is due to the hazardous conditions of the lake. Others say it is the 27 bodies never found or the souls of those who have passed away. Despite the dangerous conditions and the rumors of paranormal activity, many people still visit, vacation, and even own a second home at Lake Lanier today.